Hello, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com, and today I want to talk with you about this trend of reality shifting. It started, or it came to my attention 2 years ago in 2020. My daughter mentioned it to me that it was really booming on TikTok, and I think I brought it up at our International Mandela Effect Conference proceedings that were online, live streamed in 2020. And it was brand new back then. Now it's a couple years later. I've been hearing from a lot of people asking my take on it, since of course I've been writing books, articles, research, everything about reality shifting since the 1990s. So now it's a big deal, at least for the TikTok crowd. So what does that mean? What's my take on it? And that's what this video is all about today. So to start with, for those of you that don't know what's going on with TikTok, I'll just explain it sort of in a summary way. You might have heard that some people are providing quick 1-minute tips and tools to do things like the Raven technique, starfish technique. What is this? What's going on? And they talk about going into Hogwarts. What's all that about? And I think the easiest, fastest way to describe what's going on with all that is these are techniques to get into lucid dreaming, which, as you know from reading my book Reality Shifts, that is the key to reality shifting. Recognizing right now, if you just want to think along with me, this right now is a dream. And doing that when you're sleeping, it will wake you up inside your dreams when you're sleeping. As I mentioned in my book Reality Shifts, when consciousness changes the physical world, when we do this when we're awake, what happens? We start noticing we are conscious agents operating basically outside this physical realm that we take to be all there is. Material reality is not all there is. And so these people on TikTok are able, through inviting people to explore Hogwarts, which is very attractive to a lot of people, to imagine, what if you went through the sorting hat? You know, which house are you part of? Is it Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, Slytherin, all that? And it's wonderful because it's a place that's kind of familiar to a lot of people. So back in the day, decades ago, Robert Monroe had this Monroe Institute, and that was working toward astral travel, basically lucid dreaming inside of an isolation tank. But you don't need an isolation tank to get these results. So the brilliance of these new ideas is to use the starfish technique, so named because an individual spreads their arms up and their legs out, and then you've got your head, so you've got your 5 points of your starfish. Why do it that way? Why lie down when you're already tired and adopt this position? For the simple reason, it's similar to that isolation tank advantage that the Monroe Institute utilizes. It keeps you from inadvertently bringing yourself back into your egoic, material-based consciousness. So if you're in a starfish pattern like that, arms and legs stretched out, you're not likely to be touching other parts of your body and bringing yourself back into that egoic identity. So that would be my take on why that. The so-called Raven technique, and I'm not an expert in these, I've just watched a couple videos briefly to see what they're doing. Raven technique invites engaging your analytical left brain consciousness in this countdown from 100 to 0, or whatever way you want to do it, while focusing on the desired reality. And for some people, that would be Hogwarts, lucid dreaming, astral traveling into this imaginal realm that can be quite real, and really waking up inside of it, so it's like better than any kind of game that you'd ever want to play. So that's, I'm just giving you a rundown on my take on these techniques as they're being presented on TikTok. If you're already familiar with the Monroe Institute, or if you've done a lot of meditation, then you have some insights and inroads into these techniques that they're using. You don't need to know about Hogwarts. In fact, you don't need to use any of these techniques, as some of the TikTokers will tell you. The main key is whatever works for you that allows you to recognize you're not your physical body, you are your consciousness. And I've mentioned lots of different ways to do that on my videos and in my more than 2 decades of free newsletters at realityshifters.com. So these techniques are interesting. I think I want to review some of the key ideas from reality shifting, just to give you my take on this area that I've been tracking and devoting my career to since the 1990s now. So it's going on 25 years for me, and I'm really happy to be here as part of this movement, which I guess is becoming. And I'm not on TikTok very much. I did create a page, but I don't have the knack of that 60-second thing down. So, once in a while I'll do a 60-second short here and there, but I'm not the presence that some of these younger people are. No worries, because basically one of the key principles from reality shifting is we are all reality shifters, all of us, every single one of us. Even people you might call non-player characters, some people use that term. I think it's a little unnecessary. I'd rather come from a respectful place of every individual, and if some people feel like muggles in Hogwarts, or if they feel like what you might call a non-player character, it simply means that at this time they just haven't awakened to their identity actually being more than their physical brain, their physical body. They just don't know that yet. And I don't see much advantage in shaking people awake. If that's where they are, that's where they are. Probably we all started off at something like that. It's an easy starting point to just enter this reality construct, this waking dream that is so much bigger than it seems from that point of view. And if that's where you start, it's fine with me. So that's the first idea. The other thing with when I say we are all reality shifters, if you read my books, articles, or free website with a free newsletter, then I'm constantly talking about things appearing, disappearing, transforming, and transporting. And I share these experiences in the newsletter. Now, some people call this just one of those things, JOT, and that was, I think, the term used by Mary Rose Barrington of England. And so I'm giving her credit because she was tracking this phenomenon back to the turn of the century, around 1900, and then I'm picking up that torch and carrying it from the 1990s now into 2022. And then all of these new reality shifters, they're doing it too, because what we're doing is sharing our experiences that we can go into that waking dream state, which is kind of like the imaginal real reality. It's not just like a Hogwarts construct. For those of us who understand shamanism and so forth and are doing that reality shifting at that level, we know that when you change something on that energetic conscious agency realm, when you are a conscious agent yourself, and then you come back into the physical realm, you can experience complete remission of, for example, an incurable condition that doctors could not do anything about. That's totally doable. Other things that are doable is pretty much anything. And you can do it collectively, which is why I'm working with the International Mandela Effect Conference, working collectively on these Mandela effects and this coming golden age that's been prophesied for thousands of years on pretty much every indigenous nation and wisdom tradition. So another key idea from reality shifting, I'm just going through them again. Number one, we are all reality shifters. We all from time to time notice that your keys might not be where you put them. You might run a load of laundry and notice that your socks are no longer together. And those kind of things you might think, well, those are tiny, insignificant things. But that's the same way that we're getting Mandela effects too. It starts with things like logos and Luke, I'm your father, or no, I'm your father, those kind of things. The kidneys moving to the relative safety of up higher in the rib cage. But these are usually benign, sometimes helpful, often seemingly frivolous Mandela effects. I'm including them because to me it's all part of this beautiful spectrum of experience from us as individuals. And I'm pointing at my body, but my own consciousness is actually greater than my body. And at those levels of consciousness, we are connected. We know this as social animals that we are. And so when we pick things up quickly, like the 100th monkey syndrome, and suddenly we know something because other people know it, we are helping one another collectively together go into this golden age as conscious creators. So these are some powerful, basic, foundational truths that I'm honoring in my practice of reality shifting. So we are the conscious agents that we've been waiting for. And even though this time of the various challenges that we're facing in 2022, which are quite different than humanity has faced recently, certainly, maybe ever, this mechanism behind the shifts, if you want to call it a mechanism, really has everything to do with consciousness and who we begin to understand that we are. So reality shifting, as demonstrated in some of the TikTok videos, is a step in that direction. And it's a way to play with it in a positive way at whatever level you feel comfortable with. There are lots of these videos, too many for me to point at. There were a lot in 2020. I think it's exploded since then, which I'm glad to see. So I suggest staying reverent as the guide for how to go through this process. What do I mean by reverent? Start by respecting yourself. And when I say that, I mean really love all parts of yourself. Because when you're going into a lucid dreaming state, you're bringing the consciousness that you're constantly running, your identity consciousness, into your lucid dream experience. So to the degree that you're neutral, accepting, kind, loving, all these wonderful things that we honor in others, to the degree that you're practicing that in your regular life, then you go into your waking dream, your lucid dream, your reality shifting, conscious agency self. Hopefully you're retaining that same beautiful balance, that neutrality, the ability and the wisdom to honor and respect all of nature, including that which you do not understand. So if you see something that seems negative to you, it's okay to push it out of your sacred space. That's fine. Sometimes it might need some remedial assistance, shall we say. So I'm not going to get into all of that. That's a whole other realm. For people that are concerned about going into this practice, you know I love to ask, how good can it get? I would definitely recommend that. For those of you who are having spiritual experiences and you believe that there is a higher power, that we are connected to something greater than ourselves, whatever your faith may be, that's important to bring that with you too. And that reverence that I'm speaking of is the reverence to that great love, that great creator, that divine source, that God, that divinity. And to honor that is, in effect, to bring that kind of protection that you would need with you. I do recommend that. And I do have a video on setting protection, that is just a basic hygiene for energy. I go through in the video on YouTube how to set energetic protection, and it's just the 4 steps. It's an energy qigong practice. I highly recommend it. I'll put a link in this video description to how to do that, because it is that important. And so I'm just checking my notes here. What else? Yes, I mentioned on my newsletter I do share experiences with reality shifts. I have since the 1990s. This is currently the biggest body of documented first-person experiences, with the benefit in the later years of my talking one-on-one with the people, so that you don't type your experience in, you send it to me, Cynthia at realityshifters.com, and then what I do is I'll converse with you. I'll ask you questions about what you were thinking and feeling at various points in the experience. That's extremely important for the reasons that all reality shifters are coming to understand. This life is all about intention. And so the intention that we bring into our experiences with our thoughts, with our feelings, all of who we think we are, gives us a communication and a physical response in terms of physical reality shifts. Remember, we're all reality shifters, so this is happening all the time. And that body of first-person results, that's part of the Your Stories pages on the Reality Shifters website. You start at page 1, and there are hundreds of them now. They're also included in every single month's issue of the Reality Shifters news, which are also on the website. And so together, it gives you the location and also the time, so the month and the year it was reported, the place on Earth where it was reported as happening, the first-hand component to it, and then this amazing back and forth conversation that I always have with this people that submit their stories that also grant me permission to share them. And so what's the importance of all that body of research? It's archives, basically. This is probably the biggest online archive of these Mandela effects, of these reality shifts, that can provide anybody with confidence and information and insights. You can do your own scientific research with this body of fabulous firsthand reports and start to notice trends, patterns that might inform your own ability to do reality shifting with yourself, with groups, as we do this together. This Mandela effect, this golden age that we're beautifully co-creating right now. And that's where I'd like to close this video today, is just to introduce the idea that we are part of the Great Awakening. Reality shifting is playing a key role in that awakening. I write about quantum jumping too. Sometimes I describe that as being the conscious process of reality shifting. And that's how I started writing about these topics back in the 1990s and the early 2000s, because that's when I've been noticing people being alive again, long before there was that Mandela effect, long before Fiona Broome brought it up, maybe around the same time as Art Bell was talking about it. However, there's Art Bell, I think he was the #1 proponent on the late night airwaves, Art Bell, talking about this whole phenomenon of Mandela being reported as having died while incarcerated but being alive again. And so he was sharing that on his late night coast to coast radio program, which is absolutely outstanding. And I was blessed to be able to talk with Art Bell about that phenomenon in his later years. He asked me, would I call this phenomenon the Mandela effect? I said no. The reason was, remember, I'd been tracking people being alive again since the 1990s when I wrote Reality Shifts, and I talked about Larry Hagman in my book Reality Shifts as a famous celebrity and actor that I had noticed had died, and then he was alive again. So for me, that was definitely one of my first experiences with that phenomenon. As far as I know, it's still the first book that published that basically described that, and it was talked about on my website as well. And I mentioned Ashes the cat, my roommate's cat, being alive again as well. So it's a huge phenomenon, and I'm blessed to be able to share it. But all of us are blessed to be alive at this time of the Great Awakening. All of us are blessed to be aware of this TikTok phenomenon of reality shifting. All of us are blessed to have one another, to share videos like this. I'd love to hear in the comments for this video if you want to share where you're from, and if you've been noticing reality shifting, if you've seen those TikTok channels yet, or if you were doing reality shifting before the TikTok videos. Love to hear from you. And when it comes to the golden age, I like to think of all of us as what Terence McKenna once called psychonauts. I don't use that term much. Sounds kind of funny. What is that? Basically, it's exploring these lucid dreaming astral travel realms. I mentioned the Monroe Institute today. I've not been there. Again, you don't need to go to the Monroe Institute. You don't have to follow any particular technique, whether it's my book or my article or something on TikTok. The whole key to it is to enter a meditative state of consciousness where you recognize you are not just your body, you're not just your brain, you're not even just your thoughts or your feelings, but to start recognizing that you are the conscious agency that operates a little bit above all of those levels. That means you're able to watch yourself, you're able to journal how your day went, writing, like if I did that, I'd write third person about myself. Like right now, Cynthia is in the garden. She's doing a video about TikTok and reality shifting. And by describing myself third person, I could say Cynthia's feeling excited to do this video, really happy that YouTube exists and I can talk with each and every one of you, loving the beautiful day I'm having right now, and just feeling so blessed. So, but if I say Cynthia is feeling those things, it puts me in a state of grace, balance, neutrality, and from there, miracles can happen. Some of the best reality shifts I've ever seen have happened in that state of grace, in that state of reverence. And practicing the art of staying grounded helps. Getting out of drama, not getting our buttons pushed helps. Being able to recognize that no matter what seems like it's happening, that's just the way it seems. And there's something bigger, much bigger, that you're part of, that we need you for, that we love you for. And that bigger thing is happening right now. So this is what I mean when I ask the question, how good can it get? It's really an invitation to explore on all levels of our conscious agency. What does that mean for each of us individually? And what does that mean, how good can it get, for all of us together? Until next time, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com. Love you so much.